Hello everyone, welcome back to Witchinary. If you have yet to subscribe to this channel, please do so because we're getting crafty. Today I wanted to bring to you my part 2 of my Simon Says Stamp July 2018 Cool for the Summer card kit. If you have yet to catch part 1, I suggest you totally watch it because there are some pretty cool cards in there, guys. But anyway, you're here now. So let's move on to card number 6. For this card, I originally wanted to make a shaker card, but the sequins that were inside of my shaker card kept getting stuck to the Sizzix adhesive foam because I had, I guess, made a little leak or left a little leak in there, and it was a mess. So I took it apart, and now I have this panel, and the card tabella paper that I use could be citrus fruits or it could be beach umbrellas. No way to tell. I'm not going to judge it. But I did decide to use it as a citrus paper, and because of that, I decided to make a pineapple. I take out my Copic markers and they're listed below, and I start coloring. Now, like I mentioned in my last video, I'm not an expert at coloring. However, I did master my cylinder lesson when I was in high school about shading, so I felt very confident coming into shading this pineapple. Also, I was heavily inspired by the Nina Marie Trapini card that was on the inspiration sheet that came with the kit, and I love the way that she did her pineapple. Her pineapple looked super cool, and I really wanted a cool pineapple in one of my cards, so that's what I did. I made a cool pineapple. Once I'm done coloring that, I decide to go in to these little dots with some brown, just to give that a little bit more of a touch to reality, like a riper pineapple. And then I move on to the crown of the pineapple. We should all aspire to wear crowns like a pineapple. Because we're all kings and queens. But anyway, this is where my inexperience with Copic markers definitely shows. I think I did it right. I think, like, I'm still going from lightest shade to darkest shade. I just don't think I got my light source correctly, which is totally fine. I mean, I still think this turned out to be a really cool pineapple, so I'm not gonna knock it. But anyway, once I'm done coloring all of that, I realized that my pineapple didn't have its cool sunglasses yet, so it wasn't a cool pineapple yet. So I go back in with my mini Misti, and I decide to take out my Hero Arts Intense Black ink and go over that a few times. In retrospect, I could have honestly just done the sunglasses apart and then just fussy cut around them, but I didn't. Do I regret it? Not really, but maybe I could have darkened it with a pen or something. After I'm done fussy cutting the pineapple, I decide that I'm going to still use my not shaker element, but what used to be a shaker element to make it into like a little window card. So I adhere my pineapple down to my card base, and then I realized that I didn't get the positioning right. But you know what? This is part of the card making process. We make mistakes, we get over it, you know? So once I play around with the placement of that pineapple, I just place some foam squares and a little bit of Tombow adhesive over the Sizzix foam to adhere this panel down to my card base. And once I'm done doing that, I decide to heat emboss the Your One Cool Pineapple sentiment to some matte black cardstock using some Paper Source white embossing powder. And then I also realized that my black cardstock was too big for the actual panel because I am literally spatially challenged, guys, and it's okay. I get through it. It's a thing. But anyway, I actually love the way that it ended up looking at the end. It was very, very hip. Like, I definitely see this sort of font either on Snapchat or on Instagram often, so I was really, really happy. And because I'm me and I'm super extra, I felt like this did not have enough of a wow, and because it was supposed to be a shaker card, I decided to finish off this card with a couple of the sequins that came in the kit. So I take out my multimedia mat and stick that down, and just like that, we are done with this card. For my next card, I wanted to make a cacti card with all these cacti that came in the sticker pack, but I also didn't want to copy the idea that I had seen before with the cacti and that beautiful bouquet of desert flowers that I'd seen online somewhere. So I decided that I was still going to make a cacti card, and I wasn't sure at that point if I was going to include the little cacti from the stamp set. So it's kind of an outlier right now, and I'm sorry, but we're just going to have to abandon it and toss it to the side for a little bit. I'm also going to take out my Cartabella paper that had the flamingos on the back, and I'm going to also take out my Lawn Fawn Stitched rectangle dies, and I'm going to make a panel from this. I take out my Guillotine from Tonic Studios, and I just cut this panel down to a size that's slightly smaller than the standard A2 size card, and then I start playing around with the placement of the cacti. I think it was around this point that I actually kind of realized that I didn't have the bouquet to play around with, so I was going to have to improvise in some way or another, and I also had to figure out the orientation of these cacti. It was kind of difficult, but when I ended up deciding on what I was going to do, I just ended up placing one of the cacti down and just playing with dimension like I tend to always do, with just a couple of elements that were glued down and other ones that were raised up with foam squares, and it ended up looking okay. I even like this little pink little bird that was on here, so it looked great. I wasn't mad at it. At first, I also wasn't sure if I wanted to include some of the butterflies that were in the actual sticker pack, because they were going to end up being a lot bigger. So I ended up going with the alternative, which was the puffy stickers, and I'm really happy that I did that. My improvisation for not having the bouquet, by the way, was just sticking these awesome flowers onto the bottom, and honestly, I think I preferred the way it looked without the little flowers, but whatever. Choices, guys, choices. That's what I ended up doing. So once I actually look at those butterflies and see how big they were going to be, it really became apparent that I was going to use these puffy stickers. And I was really happy I did, because I'd only used the puffy stickers up until this point for another card. And I had so many, and I just really wanted to use them. And once I was done, or once I got at least a couple of them down, I knew that was my idea. I wanted to get my sentiment down on paper before I kept going overboard with the puffy stickers, and then use my heat gun, which would then melt the adhesive. Once I'm done and I'm happy with how this looks, I adhere my actual card panel down to a card base, and then I pull out my Nuvo drops and I put little dots of Nuvo all over my stuck-on uke. Again, kind of like the mosquitoes of before from one of my other cards, which we all agreed it was going to be like a magical thing. But yeah. P.S. Whoever says that revenge is not the answer has never ever been bit by a mosquito in the middle of the night. When you swat that thing, it is the sweetest like wave of emotion that comes over your body. But anyway, this is magical and this is not mosquitoes. So this card will not be known for mosquitoes. But once I'm done putting all of these little Nuvo drops everywhere where I want them, then we are done with this card. So for this card, guys, I'm super sorry. I thought I was recording this card and I wasn't. So I'm going to just walk you through what I did. I took a piece of vellum and I heat embossed the sentiment, "You Bring Sunshine." I also glued on like 2 stickers from the sticker pack, and I wrapped it around the actual panel that was just a piece of paper from the Cartabella set, and I just wrapped it around and taped it immediately down to a piece of yellow cardstock. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, for my next card, I decided that I wanted to at least use one of these strips, because these strips were beautiful and I wanted to make a card out of it. So I decided to go along with the top panel, and I'm being very careful about cutting this because this is literally my favorite piece of paper from this stack. So I was very careful. This was around the point that I wasn't really running out of paper, but my favorite pieces of paper from this kit were starting to get used, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to combine all of them or not. So I ended up like just sticking on some stickers on a piece of white cardstock to kind of just play around with these stickers. I knew I definitely wanted to use this beach umbrella because it's fabulous and it gave me all the life in the world. So I knew I wanted to do that. I also wanted to stick on some of these fruits because this kit was honestly intense in the way that you could have done 3 different themes with this kit. Either you could have gone super nautical and beachy and beach please, or you can go super fruity and tropical, or you can just go like desert storm and just, you know, use a lot of the cacti and a lot of the desert themes that came in this kit. And it was just a lot. It was very overwhelming for me. I wanted to at least get some of the tropical elements on there, so I wanted to add some fruit to this card, and that kind of was my motivation behind it, although it did not work out that way. So I ended up cutting the panel to fit this card, and then I took a piece of vellum and I cut it just to extend this panel a little bit more, just a little bit more towards the top, because I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with all of that empty space as of yet. Sometimes my cards just kind of come together without rhyme or reason, and this was kind of becoming one of those cards where I just played around with it until something came of it. I really liked the way that this looked, and in retrospect, if I could have done another cool pineapple, I probably would have just placed it where that boat was and then made it look like my ginormous cool pineapple was soaking up the beach. But I didn't do that. Instead, I fussy cut some of these seashells and I put them underneath the beach umbrella, and I actually I love the way that this looked. I played around with this stuff a little bit, but I ended up loving the way that this looked. I can't explain what it reminds me of, but it definitely reminds me of something like a nice panel and then something that it's like just tangible or like tactile at the top. I don't know, I'm babbling. It reminds me of something. Because I am trying to decorate some of the insides of my cards, I decide to adhere all of those beautiful fruits to the inside of my card, and then I play around with my puffy stickers by adding a little birdie to the top of that beach umbrella. Once I see that I have way too many repeating colors, I just decide to play around with those seashells a little bit more, arranging them and playing around with dimension again, gluing certain elements and raising other parts up just so that way I can have a little bit of dimension. And then I decide to heat emboss the You Bring Sunshine down to this card, and just like that we are done. For my next card, I wanted to use the sticker pack, and I also wanted to combine all of those little bits of paper that I'd yet to use. So this little card thing actually came from the sticker pack. It was a panel that I literally just ripped out from the sticker pack, and this was the little sheet that I didn't use for my peacock card. So I had it lying around and I decided I wanted to use it, and I kind of wanted to do this whole thing of maybe like a boardwalk or something on the sunset during the sky. I don't know, that was the vibes it was giving me, so that's what I wanted to go for. So I took the leftover blue sheet of paper from the Stuck on You card, and I adhered it down to this card panel, or to this card base, and then I took that beautiful sunset and I adhered it down, as well as the wooden boardwalk sort of look. And then I decided to take the suitcases and just raise those up with some foam squares, as well as some of these beautiful butterflies to kind of like give this whole bon voyage sort of feel for the summer. Like, this is basically my card, because this is all I'm going to be doing this summer, is just traveling to different places like a little butterfly. But anyway, I decided to just adhere all of that down, and then I took a little piece of that Tonic gold paper that we got in one of our kits, and I wanted to fill that empty white space with it, just to tie back that holographic look of the wings of the butterfly down. And I honestly like the way this card looked, honestly, and in retrospect I could have probably just left it white and it would have been just fine, but I just liked how simple and how easy it was to just throw all of these elements together and, you know, just have a card. For my sentiment, I didn't want to do a sentiment that was in the stamp set. I thought the stamp set was great, but it didn't have a lot of sentiments that could be lent to other things. So I took the You Are My Sunshine and I decided to put that on the inside of the card, and then I took my Nuvo drops and did the whole magical mosquito drop aesthetic that I had been doing for these cards. I'm gonna have to come up with a better name for that, guys. I'm sorry. But, yeah, and once I did all of that, I thought that that was great, and this card is done. Thank you guys so much for watching these videos, and I hope that you guys enjoy the rest of your day.